Chapter 1. In the beginning of chaos. Before the heavens were stretched across the void, before the earth had found its form, there was only chaos. Two primal beings drifted in the endless waters: Apsu, the god of fresh water, pure and life-giving, and Tiamat, the goddess of salt water, vast and unyielding, like the endless sea. Together they swirled in the timeless dark, a union of opposites, the mingling of sweet and bitter, calm and storm. From their embrace, the first gods were born. Lamu and Lahamu rose from the deep, their forms radiant with the spark of creation. After them came Anshur and Kishur, horizons of heaven and earth, stretching far and wide. And from these, more gods emerged, each carrying the essence of the cosmos within them. The universe was still unshaped, a restless womb of waters. Yet within it grew the seeds of life, voices of the young gods rising like the first whispers of wind over the sea. They filled the void with laughter, arguments, and song. The stillness that Apsu and Tiamat had once cherished was disturbed. Apsu, though ancient and vast, found weariness in the noise. He longed for silence, for the calm depths that had existed before the younger gods stirred. Tiamat, however, endured with patience. Though their children brought turmoil, she carried within her the heart of a mother watching, waiting, and tolerating their wildness. As the generations multiplied, the waters churned ever more violently. Anu, the sky god, was born, luminous and fierce. From him came Ea Enki, the god of wisdom and deep knowledge, whose mind was sharp as a blade and whose voice carried the currents of destiny. The younger gods played and fought, their movements shaking the deep, their power rising unchecked. They shone with brilliance, but to Apsu, their brightness was a blinding fire. To Tiamat, their energy was the first sign of imbalance. Though she remained silent, for she was still the sea, embracing both storm and calm. Thus, the cosmos expanded, the eternal waters trembling with new force. The dance of gods had begun, but with it also came the first shadows of conflict. And so the stage was set. The ancient order of Apsu and Tiamat, facing the rising tide of their children. Chaos had birthed creation, but from creation would rise discord, and from discord the destiny of all things. Chapter 2. The restless younger gods. As time passed within the boundless waters, the younger gods grew restless. They were children of chaos, yet they sought to shape, to act, to move. Their voices thundered across the deep, their laughter rolled like storms, and their arguments cracked like lightning. No longer content to remain hidden within the womb of creation, they danced and clashed in the eternal waters, sending ripples across the cosmos. The once still deep now churned with waves, surging faster and stronger, as if the sea itself struggled to contain their power. Ea, clever and wise, studied the mysteries of the waters. He sought knowledge in every current, searching for secrets older than time itself. Anu, bright as the vault of heaven, raised his power like a pillar of light, stretching upward into the void. And others, countless in number, added their noise and energy to the swelling chaos. But what filled the young gods with joy became a torment to their parents. Apsu, lord of fresh waters, grew weary of their noise. His peace was broken, his rest disturbed. He longed for the quiet depths that had existed before his children were born. At last, Apsu spoke to Tiamat. His voice, once calm as flowing streams, now rumbled with anger. Beloved Tiamat, mother of all, I cannot endure this any longer. Our children are loud, reckless, and destructive. They disturb the ancient silence. They do not honor us, nor the order we brought forth. I would end them, that we may find peace once more." Tiamat listened in silence. Her heart, though stirred by the noise of her offspring, did not turn against them. She was the eternal sea, vast enough to contain both storm and calm. With the patience of a mother, she replied, "Why should we destroy what we have created? They are unruly, yes, but they are ours. Do not raise your hand against them, for they are the future. Let them play, let them clash, for from their strife something new will come." But Apsu's heart was unmoved. His bitterness deepened, and within him grew a dark resolve. No longer did he see his children as the future, he saw them only as a burden. And in secret, he began to plot their destruction. The younger gods, unaware of their father's wrath, continued their revelry. Their voices rose louder still, echoing across heaven and earth to be. The waters trembled with their might, and destiny itself began to stir. For in the hidden depths, Ea, sharp of mind and keen of ear, sensed that something more than chaos was moving in the currents. He would soon uncover the truth of Apsu's dark intention. Thus the seeds of the first great conflict were sown. The younger gods, wild and free, against the weary Apsu and the yet silent Tiamat. The stillness of the primordial waters had ended. What followed would shape the fate of gods and mortals alike. Chapter 3: Apsu's Dark Plot. The younger gods shouted, argued, and clashed without end. Their energy surged like lightning storms across the eternal sea. But deep within, Apsu's patience had dissolved into fury. The Lord of Fresh Waters brooded in silence, his heart blackened by resentment. What once he had cherished, now he despised. His ears could no longer bear the endless noise, and his mind burned with one single thought. The younger gods must be destroyed. Seeking counsel, Apsu turned to Mummu, his vizier and servant of the primeval waters. Loyal but sly, Mimu whispered in his ear, feeding his anger. "Master of the deep," Mummu said, "why should you endure this torment? The young gods do not respect you. They disturb your rest and mock your authority. Slay them, and peace will be restored. Return the waters to silence." Apsu's eyes gleamed like darkened pools. The thought pleased him. For the first time in countless ages, he felt certainty. Yet he was cautious. Tiamat, the great mother, might stand against him. So Apsu spoke softly to her, his voice heavy with venom. "O Tiamat, mother of all, I have borne their chaos too long. The young gods dishonor us. I will destroy them, that we may have rest again. Let us end their rebellion before it grows beyond our power." But Tiamat, vast as the endless ocean, recoiled. Though disturbed by her children's noise, her heart was not hardened. She answered with sorrow and reproach, "Husband, how could you even speak such words? They are ours, flesh of our essence, born from our waters. Would you strike down what you brought forth? I will not consent. I will not see my children slain." Yet Apsu's rage could not be undone. He fell silent, unwilling to argue further. His thoughts darkened, and in secret, with Mummu at his side, he began to weave his plan. They whispered in shadows, away from Tiamat's hearing. They spoke of spells, of enchantments that would lull the young gods into helpless slumber. Apsu would then strike them down, one by one, until silence returned to the cosmos. But what Apsu and Mummu did not know was that the currents of the deep carried whispers everywhere. And among the younger gods, none listened more keenly than Ea, the wise and cunning one. His mind was sharp as a serpent's strike, and his heart burned with the will to survive. From the depths, Ea heard the plotting of Apsu and Mummu. He learned of the spell, the treachery, and the doom that his father intended for them. Fear touched him, but greater still was his resolve. If we do not act first, Ea thought, we will be destroyed. Apsu, our own father, seeks our end. Then I must rise against him, though it shatters the order of the deep. Thus, the first secret rebellion of the younger gods was conceived. Apsu's wrath would soon meet E's cunning, and the cosmos itself would tremble at the clash between father and son. Chapter 4. E's Secret Plan. Ea, son of the primeval waters, carried the weight of a terrible truth. His father, Apsu, plotted murder, urged on by the sly tongue of Mil. The younger gods laughed and quarreled, unaware that doom hovered above them like a shadow. But E's wisdom pierced through the chaos. If I keep silent, he thought, all of us will perish. Yet if I strike against Apsu, I defy the very source from which I was born. Still better to risk rebellion than to lie helpless in death. Thus, Ea withdrew from the noisy gatherings of the young gods. Alone, he sought the deep chambers of sorcery, where the currents whispered ancient secrets. With patient hands and unyielding resolve, he began to shape a plan. E's craft was unmatched. He knew the language of spells, the rhythm of the waters, and the very pulse of creation. With these, he wove an enchantment stronger than Apsu's own design. His magic would not only shield the young gods, but strike at the heart of the plot itself. When his preparations were complete, Ea approached the council of the younger gods. His voice, calm yet fierce, silenced their clamor. Brothers, sisters, heed my words. Apsu, our father, has grown weary of us. With Mumu's counsel, he seeks to destroy us. But I will not let his wrath devour us. I have devised a spell, and with it, I will bind him before he can act. The younger gods trembled. Some were stricken with fear, others with rage. But in E's eyes, they saw the glimmer of certainty. None dared question him, and so, as night gathered in the eternal sea, Ea set his trap. When Apsu rose from his hidden chamber, cloaked in wrath, E's spell fell upon him. The waters themselves tightened like chains, binding Apsu in slumber. His power, vast as the deep, collapsed under the weight of E's sorcery. Mimu, faithful servant though he was, fared no better. Ea struck him down and bound him as well, twisting his cunning tongue into silence. The young gods exulted, for the danger was ended, or so they thought. Ea, triumphant, did not kill his father outright. Instead, he stripped Apsu's crown and took his power, claiming the waters as his domain. From Apsu's very carcass, Ea built a sacred dwelling, a shining palace where magic and wisdom would forever reside. And within that palace, a new destiny stirred, for Ea and his beloved Damkina conceived a son, a child, born not of rebellion, but of promise. His name was whispered across the waters, Marduk. Golden-eyed, radiant with strength, Marduk would grow to become greater than all who came before him. The young gods rejoiced at his birth, and Ea believed the threat had ended. But far away, Tiamat brooded. Though she had not joined Apsu's plot, she now mourned his death. Her grief curdled into rage, her sorrow into vengeance. The mother of monsters stirred, and the deep began to tremble. Chapter 5. The Rise of Marduk. Within E's shining palace, raised from the vanquished body of Apsu, a child was born whose destiny would surpass gods and monsters alike. His name was Marduk. From the moment of his birth, the heavens marveled. His body gleamed with brilliance, his eyes shone like twin suns, and from his lips came laughter that stirred the waters into song. Ea and Damkina looked upon their son with pride, for they knew he was no ordinary god. Marduk grew swiftly. His stride was mighty, his voice thunderous, and his presence filled the halls of the gods with awe. Even among the younger deities, who once quarreled and clamored like restless children, Marduk's authority brought silence. "See how tall he stands," they whispered. "He carries the strength of 10 gods and the wisdom of his father." Ea nurtured his son with knowledge, teaching him the secrets of magic, the mysteries of the stars, and the ways of the deep. Damkina, radiant mother, clothed him in splendor and bound upon him a radiant cloak that shimmered like dawn upon the waters. But Marduk was not only wise and strong, he was inventive. From the gifts of the heavens, he shaped weapons no god had wielded before. With a net woven of the winds, he could ensnare any foe. With bow and arrow forged from divine light, he could pierce even the scales of the greatest beast. And from the storm itself, he drew forth lightning, hurling it as both spear and flame. The gods, who once feared destruction, now felt emboldened by Marduk's might. They gathered in E's halls to watch him train, and their laughter rang through the waters. For the first time since Apsu's dark plot, joy returned to their hearts. Yet in the farthest reaches of the deep, joy turned to dread. Tiamat, mother of creation, grieved still for Apsu. Her grief festered into fury, and her fury into vengeance. In her great belly, she stirred new horrors, shaping monstrous offspring to do her bidding. Serpents with bodies of flame, dragons with poison in their veins, storms given flesh and fury. Her wrath whispered through the waters, carried by the currents, until it reached even the ears of the young gods. "Tiamat is rising," murmured one. "She is gathering an army," said another. "And her heart burns with vengeance." The young gods trembled once more. They turned to Ea, their savior, but his face was heavy with concern. Though he had bound Apsu and defeated Memhu, he knew Tiamat's power was far greater, an ocean of wrath, boundless and eternal. It was then they looked to Marduk, radiant and fierce. Though still young, he stood tall before them, his bow gleaming, lightning in his grasp. "If Tiamat brings war," Marduk declared, his voice like rolling thunder, "then I shall face her. With my strength and with your trust, I will be your champion." The council of gods fell silent. Fear clashed with hope in their hearts. Could one so young challenge the mother of all monsters? Could he truly withstand the fury of the seas themselves? Ea placed his hand on his son's shoulder. His eyes, wise and sorrowful, met the blazing gaze of Marduk. "If destiny has chosen you," Ea whispered, "then even Tiamat cannot deny it." And so, the stage was set. In E's halls, a hero had risen. Across the abyss, a monstrous queen prepared for war. The clash was inevitable. Chapter 6. Tiamat's Army of Monsters. Deep within the endless abyss, where light could not reach and silence reigned, except for the roar of waters, Tiamat stirred. Her sorrow for Apsu had hardened into hatred, and from that hatred she wove a storm of vengeance. "The young gods slew my beloved," she thundered, her voice echoing like earthquakes beneath the waves. "They mocked the order of the deep, and now they shall know despair." With every word, her breath boiled the waters. With every heartbeat, the abyss gave birth to new horrors. One by one, she shaped them with her hands of chaos. Venomous dragons, scaled beasts with wings of midnight, their fangs dripping with poison that could melt even divine flesh. Storm demons, towering creatures born from thunderclouds, their eyes flashing with lightning, their fists pounding like avalanches. Sea serpents, long and coiling, their bodies stretching across horizons, teeth like saws that could shear through mountains. Scorpion men, warriors with the torsos of men and the tails of death, guardians of the abyss, swift and merciless. Fanged hounds of chaos, beasts whose howls split the waters, whose jaws devoured flame and shadow alike. And at the head of this monstrous host, she placed Kingu, her chosen champion. Kingu was not merely a beast, but a god of war given her own blood to empower him. His body was wrapped in armor of bone, his eyes burned with the fire of vengeance, and in his hands she placed the Tablet of Destinies, an artifact of unfathomable power. Whoever held the tablet ruled fate itself, the stars, the winds, the lives of gods and mortals alike. "Take this, my son," Tiamat hissed, her serpentine coils trembling with rage. "Lead my army. Crush the rebels who betrayed me. Let the heavens bow before our wrath." Kingu lifted the tablet, and the abyss trembled. The monsters roared in unison, shaking the very fabric of creation. Their cries echoed through the waters, rising like a tide of doom. Meanwhile, in the higher realms, the younger gods shivered as the echoes reached them. The heavens darkened, stars flickered, and the seas boiled. "She has created an army," Anu whispered, his voice heavy with dread. "And Kingu bears the Tablet of Destinies," added En. "If he commands it, none of us are safe." Fear swept across the divine council. Some cried for retreat, others for surrender. The memory of Apsu's fall was still sharp, and now they faced a force far more terrible. But Ea rose to speak. His gaze was steady, his voice strong. "Do not tremble, children of the heavens. For though Tiamat is mighty, we are not without hope. One among us has been chosen by destiny, one whose strength surpasses even the fiercest storm." The council turned their eyes to Marduk. He stood with his bow upon his back, his net of winds at his side, and lightning flashing between his hands. His presence radiated confidence, yet within him stirred the weight of what was to come. He looked out upon the fearful gods and spoke, "Tiamat has her army, and I will face it. But hear me now. If I am to fight as your champion, I must fight as your king. Grant me authority over the heavens and the earth, and I will deliver you from this terror." The gods murmured among themselves, astonished by his demand. A young god, yet he sought the throne of all creation. But in their fear, they also felt hope that Marduk could be their savior. And so, with trembling voices, they began to consider his offer. Far below, Tiamat's monsters prepared for war, and Kingu raised the tablet high. The battle between chaos and order drew near. Chapter 7: Marduk's Bargain with the Gods. The halls of the divine assembly were filled with unease. The younger gods gathered in clusters, their voices hushed, their faces pale. Beyond the celestial walls, the cosmos trembled with the stirring of Tiamat's monstrous host. Storms lashed the heavens, and even the constellations flickered as if afraid to shine. At the center of the council stood Marduk, tall and radiant, his eyes glowing like twin suns. In one hand he held his bow, its string taut with the power of lightning. At his waist hung his net, woven from the winds themselves, ready to ensnare any beast of chaos. He raised his voice so that none could ignore him. "Hear me, children of the heavens. Tiamat rises from the abyss with her legion of horrors. She has crowned Kingu with the Tablet of Destinies, giving him the power to command fate itself. None among you dare face her, yet I will. But know this, I will not fight as your servant. I will fight as your king." A hush fell upon the gods. His words struck like thunder. bold and unyielding. Some recoiled at his demand, others leaned forward with hope flickering in their hearts. Anu, father of the sky, frowned. "You ask much, young Marduk. To rule the heavens and the earth is to bear a burden beyond even your strength." But Ea, wise and cunning, stepped forward. His voice was calm but firm. "Father, do you not see? The burden is already his. None else dares face Tiamat, none else carries the power to stand against her. Without him, we are lost." The gods murmured, their fear wrestling with their pride. Then Enlil, lord of storms, spoke. "If Marduk can deliver us from chaos, let him be king, but his words must be bound by oath, and his power tested before the throne is his." Marduk's lips curved into a determined smile. "So be it. Test me, and I shall prove my might." The gods brought forth a challenge. They placed a starry cloak before him and spoke. "If you are chosen by destiny, command this cloak. Speak, and let it vanish. Speak again, and let it return. Show us that you wield dominion, not only over storm and sea, but over the fabric of creation itself." Marduk stretched out his hand. His voice rang like a song of thunder. "Disappear." And before their eyes, the cloak dissolved into nothingness, fading like mist before dawn. Gasps echoed through the hall. Then he spoke again. "Return." The cloak shimmered back into being, whole and untouched. The gods cried out in awe, their doubts melting like ice under fire. Anu rose from his throne. His face, once clouded with worry, now shone with resolve. "It is decided. Marduk shall lead us. Marduk shall be king." One by one, the gods raised their voices, swearing their allegiance. They laid their powers before him. Anu gave him the four winds to command. Enlil lent him the storm and the whirlwind. Ea granted him wisdom deeper than the abyss. Others bestowed lightning, fire, and the unyielding strength of mountains. Their voices thundered as one Marduk, Marduk, champion of the gods, king of the heavens. Marduk bowed his head in solemn acceptance. "With your gifts and your trust, I will not fail. I shall bind Tiamat, slay her, and from her carcass I will shape a world where chaos no longer rules." The council shook with cheers, but beneath their celebration lay a trembling anticipation. For now, their fate rested in the hands of one. Far below, in the abyss, Tiamat stirred. She felt the tremor of power rising in the heavens and hissed, her coils churning the waters. "Let them crown their champion," she growled. "I will crush him as I crushed their father's hopes. Let him come. The sea shall be his grave." The path was set. King against goddess, order against chaos, creation against destruction. And so, with the crown of heaven newly bestowed upon him, Marduk prepared for the war that would decide the fate of all things. Chapter 8: The Forging of Marduk's Weapons. With the crown of divine authority newly set upon his brow, Marduk knew that strength alone would not be enough to defeat Tiamat. She was the embodiment of chaos, vast as the seas, her body a fortress of scales and storms. To face her, he would need weapons unlike any ever forged tools, born not of mortals or gods, but of the very fabric of creation. The gods gathered once more, this time not to debate, but to arm their champion. In the forges of heaven, anvils rang with firelight, and cosmic hammers fell in rhythm like the heartbeat of the universe itself. The winds, the waters, the mountains, and the stars each offered their essence to the crafting of weapons destined for this singular battle. First, from the swirling chaos of the firmament, Ea drew forth the net of the four winds. He wove it from invisible currents of air, so fine it could entrap even the swiftest spirit, yet strong enough to bind the limbs of titans. He laid it at Marduk's feet. With this net, Ea said, you shall ensnare Tiamat, so that her endless coils cannot escape your judgment. Next came Anu, lord of the sky, who raised his hand and summoned the storm clouds. From them he forged the bow of the heavens, its string woven from starlight, its arrows tipped with lightning itself. With these arrows, Anu declared, strike at her heart. Let the storm pierce the sea dragon's breast. Shamash, the sun god, stepped forward, his blazing radiance condensed into a mace of burning fire. Its head roared like the sun at dawn, capable of shattering bone, scale, and shadow alike. Strike with this, and darkness shall yield before your light. Then came Adad, god of storms, who handed him a quiver of wind's gusts, sharp as blades, whirlwinds, to tear apart the wings of demons, and gales that could shatter mountains. Let the breath of the skies be your ally. But still, the gods whispered, even with these weapons, can he face Tiamat's fury? It was then that Marduk himself stepped forward, placing his hands upon the earth and sky. He called upon the powers gifted to him, and from them he shaped two creations of his own, a net of lightning, to bind not just Tiamat's body, but her very essence of chaos. And most fearsome of all, a spear born of the tempest, forged from the raw fury of storm and fire. Its shaft was unbreakable, its tip a blazing whirlwind. The heavens shook as he lifted it, for in that moment the weapon seemed alive, hungering for the battle to come. When his armory was complete, Marduk stood clad in radiance. A cloak of impenetrable armor wrapped around him, shimmering with celestial wards. His helm shone like the sun, his boots thundered like storms, and his hands glowed with the strength of the gods. The assembly looked upon him and trembled, not with fear, but with awe. Never before has one stood so mighty, whispered Ishtar. If any can bring down Tiamat, it is he. Then Marduk raised his voice, firm and resolute. With these gifts, I shall face her. I shall bind her, slay her, and from her ruin craft the world anew. When chaos falls, order shall rise. The gods roared their approval, their voices echoing through the heavens like the first song of creation. But far beneath them, in the depths of the primordial waters, Tiamat's laughter rolled like thunder. She felt the tremor of Marduk's preparations, and her fury grew ever greater. Her monstrous brood hissed and roared, eager for the clash to come. Forge your weapons, little king, Tiamat spat. Bring your storms, your nets, your lightning. When you stand before me, all will shatter. I am chaos eternal. You are but a child who dares challenge the sea. Thus the stage was set, the young god armed with the powers of creation, and the mother of monsters waiting with her legion. The clash of order and chaos was no longer a distant fear, it was inevitable. And soon the heavens and the earth would tremble with the sound of their war. Chapter 9. The Army of Monsters. While Marduk armed himself in the heights of heaven, the depths of the primordial sea boiled with Tiamat's wrath. Her anger at the gods' betrayal had become an endless storm, and in her fury, she birthed horrors the cosmos had never seen. She would not fight alone. She would unleash an army of monsters, each forged from her own chaotic essence, to rend the heavens and drown the earth in terror. From the black waters, she summoned her children, the viper, a serpent with scales harder than obsidian, its fangs dripping venom that could corrode even divine flesh. The dragon, vast and winged, its breath fire enough to scorch the seas themselves. The great lion demon, whose roar shattered mountains, its claws dripping with bloodlust. The mad hound, eyes burning with endless hunger, snapping its jaws like thunder. The scorpion men, with tails tipped in poison and bodies that gleamed like bronze under the moonless night. The storm demons, howling spirits that tore through air and sky, swift as shadows. And last, the fishmen of the abyss, armored in scales, wielding tridents, forged from coral and bone, rising like phantoms from the deep. Each was a nightmare made flesh, bound to Tiamat's will by the chaos that gave them life. At their head, she placed her chosen champion, Kingu, her consort, who had risen to take the place of Apsu, slain by the treacherous gods. To him, she entrusted the Tablet of Destinies, a relic of unimaginable power. With it, fate itself bent to the bearer's will. "Take this, my beloved," Tiamat hissed, pressing the tablet upon Kingu's chest. "With it, command the cosmos. No god, not even the upstart Marduk, can stand against you." Kingu's form swelled with newfound strength. His eyes glowed with the fire of destiny. His voice shook the seas. Around him, the monstrous legions bent their knees, awaiting his command. The earth quaked as the horde gathered, their sheer presence a storm of dread. They filled the waters and skies, blotting out the stars, their cries echoing through eternity. Even the bravest gods trembled when the sound reached their ears. Meanwhile, the heavens looked on. From their thrones, the elder gods whispered fearfully, "The army of chaos marches. Can even Marduk stand against such terror?" But Marduk did not flinch. Though the sight of Tiamat's legions reached even the highest heavens, his resolve only hardened. He studied his weapons, the net of winds, the bow of starlight, the storm spearin. He whispered to himself, "Let them come, for I was not born to fear chaos, but to master it." Thus, the lines of battle were drawn. On one side, the gods, with Marduk as their champion. On the other, Tiamat, with Kingu and her legion of horrors. The clash was inevitable. The war that would shape the universe was about to begin. Chapter 10. The Cosmic Clash. The day of reckoning dawned. The heavens trembled as Marduk descended in his chariot of storms, pulled by 4 fearsome steeds creatures that breathed fire and lightning, their hooves striking sparks upon the firmament. Each horse embodied a force of nature, the destroyer, the merciless, the swift, and the relentless. Around Marduk, the winds roared, the east wind, the south wind, the north wind, and the west wind woven into his net, a weapon no force of chaos could escape. Upon his back gleamed the bow of starlight, strung with cosmic sinew, and at his side rested the mighty storm spear, forged from the heart of thunder itself. From the abyss, Tiamat rose, her body unfurled like a mountain range come alive, her coils spanning leagues upon leagues of the sea. Her scales shone like iron, her eyes burned like suns, her mouth gaped wide enough to swallow gods whole. Behind her, the army of monsters spread across the horizon, an endless swarm of horrors. At her side stood Kingu, the tablet of destinies blazing upon his chest, granting him dominion over fate itself. When the two forces met, the cosmos itself held its breath. The first clash shook creation. The storm winds hurled themselves at Tiamat's legions, scattering fishmen into the waves and hurling scorpion men into the sky. The dragon shrieked fire into the heavens, but Marduk loosed his first arrow, piercing its wing and casting it into the abyss. The lion demon charged, its roar echoing through eternity. But the net of winds tangled it, binding its limbs until Marduk's spear ended its cry. The heavens and seas became a battlefield of unimaginable fury. Kingu, bearing the tablet, raised his voice in command. The monsters surged forward, their strength redoubled by fate's decree. Venomous vipers struck at Marduk's steeds, storm demons clashed with the winds, and the mad hound tore at the net with teeth of iron. For a moment, even the gods, watching from afar, feared their champion would falter. But Marduk stood unshaken. He raised his voice like thunder. Tiamat, your chaos ends today. Your reign of terror dies with me. The goddess of the abyss let out a roar that split the seas. Waves rose as high as mountains, crashing down upon Marduk's chariot, yet he did not drown. With one hand he lifted the storm spear, with the other he loosed his arrows. Light and thunder filled the cosmos. Finally, he turned his full might upon Tiamat herself. Her mouth opened, vast as night, to swallow him whole. But Marduk was ready. He unleashed the net of winds, forcing the gales into her throat. Her jaws could not close. Her body strained against the storm, but she was trapped. With a cry of fury, Marduk hurled his spear of storm. It struck Tiamat in the heart. The chaos goddess shrieked, her cry echoing across the universe, shattering stars, shaking the roots of creation. Her body convulsed, twisting upon itself, until at last the fire in her eyes went dark. The sea stilled. The monsters faltered. Kingu, stripped of courage, clutched the tablet of destinies in vain. The war was decided. The gods looked down in awe, their fear replaced with triumph. Chaos had been broken. Order had claimed its first victory. Yet the work was not finished, for Marduk would not merely slay, Tiamat would reshape the world with her remains. The cosmos was ready for rebirth. Chapter 11: The Division of the World. Silence fell upon the cosmos after Tiamat's death. The seas no longer raged, the winds no longer screamed. Her massive body floated in the abyss, a corpse vast as eternity, stretching from horizon to horizon. The army of monsters, now leaderless, fled into the shadows. Kingu, trembling, clutched the tablet of destinies, but Marduk seized him and stripped it from his grasp. The once proud general of chaos was bound in chains, his fate sealed. Now, Marduk stood before the body of the slain goddess. The gods gathered in awe. Some whispered in fear, what could be done with such a being? If left to rot, her body might fester into new horrors. If abandoned, the abyss might once again give birth to chaos. But Marduk's eyes burned with vision. From her ruin, we will build creation, he declared. From chaos shall rise order. From destruction shall come life. The gods bowed their heads. They knew destiny had chosen him not only as their champion, but as their creator king. The shaping of the cosmos. Marduk approached Tiamat's colossal corpse. With his blade of storm and lightning, he split her in two. The blow resounded like the breaking of eternity itself. Her body opened, and from the two halves, Marduk forged the foundations of existence. With one half, he lifted her remains high, stretching them wide across the heavens, and thus the sky was formed. He fastened it with bolts, so it would never fall. With the other half, he spread her flesh below, forming the earth, vast and solid, to rest upon the waters. Her ribs became the pillars of the sky, her spine the foundations of the world. From her eyes, he fashioned the sources of the great rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, so that life would flow eternally across the land. Her blood mingled with the seas, her breath became the winds, and her roar faded into the eternal thunder that echoes in the storm. The gods watched, astonished. Out of terror and death, beauty and order had begun to rise. The ordering of the heavens, Marduk did not stop. He fastened lights in the sky, marking the paths of time and season. From her tail, he drew out the arc of the Milky Way, a river of stars across the heavens. From her scales, he set the constellations, fixing them as signs for gods and mortals alike. From her spittle, he drew forth the clouds to bring rain upon the earth. He created the moon to measure the months, and the sun to mark the day. He set the stars as guardians, so the rhythm of the cosmos would never falter. Thus, from the ruin of chaos, order and time itself were born. The praise of the gods. When the work was finished, the gods lifted their voices in awe. They hailed Marduk, not just as their warrior, but as their creator and king. None had ever wielded such power, not only to destroy, but to reshape the very bones of existence. "Hail, Marduk," they cried, "builder of the world, master of heaven and earth. From the corpse of chaos, you have made creation. From the blood of Tiamat, you have given us life renewed." Marduk stood upon the threshold of the new world, gazing at the heavens he had ordered, the earth he had shaped. Yet he knew his work was not finished. Creation was vast, but it lacked those who would tend it. It lacked servants, those who would uphold the order he had forged. A new thought stirred within him: to create mankind. Chapter 12. The Birth of Humanity. The world was no longer silent. From the body of Tiamat, seas rolled, rivers coursed, winds swept the sky, and stars burned with eternal light. But as the gods gazed upon this new order, they grew restless. For though creation was vast and wondrous, it required care, duty, and endless labor. The heavens needed to be measured, the earth tilled, temples built, offerings given. The lesser gods grumbled. "Why should we toil forever?" they asked. "We fought beside you, O Marduk. Should there be no rest for us?" Marduk listened, and within his mind, the spark of destiny ignited once more. He would forge a new being, neither god nor beast one, that would bear the burdens of labor, so the gods could dwell in splendor. The fate of Kingu, bound in chains. Kingu, the consort of Tiamat and bearer of the tablet of destinies, was dragged before Marduk. Once proud, he now trembled like a broken reed. "Why do you keep me alive?" Kingu spat, though fear quivered in his voice. "Slay me, as you slew my mistress." But Marduk's eyes burned with purpose. "From your blood, life shall rise. Where once you led rebellion, you shall now give birth to service. Your punishment shall be creation itself." At those words, the other gods seized Kingu. They cut open his veins, and his divine blood spilled into the clay of the earth. The crimson mingled with dust, and from that union, Marduk shaped the first humans. The awakening of man. The clay shuddered. The blood of a god pulsed within it. And slowly, figures rose, fragile, small, unlike the mighty deities, yet alive with a spark of spirit. They blinked, looked upward, and breathed for the first time. "Behold," Marduk proclaimed, "the race of men, not gods, yet touched with divinity. They shall labor, they shall worship, and they shall serve. In them, chaos and order are bound together, as it is in all creation." The newborn humans knelt before their makers, not out of command, but instinct. They felt the weight of the divine within their veins, the burden of destiny woven into their flesh. The role of humanity. Marduk decreed their purpose: to build temples in honor of the gods, to offer sacrifices so the gods would never hunger, to till the soil and tend the rivers, keeping the earth fertile and ordered, to praise the names of the immortals, ensuring their glory never faded. Thus, mankind became the servants of the divine, and the lesser gods rejoiced, freed from the toil they once despised. The eternal covenant. Yet, even in this creation, a balance was struck. For though men were servants, they also carried within them a fragment of divinity, the blood of Kingu, the rebel. Within them lived both obedience and defiance, both chaos and order. The gods saw this and marveled. Some whispered in unease, "What if they rise against us, as Kingu once did?" But Marduk only smiled. "So it shall be. They are children of both rebellion and devotion. Their struggle will mirror our own war with chaos. And in their worship we shall be eternal." The world completed, with humanity born, creation was finished. The heavens turned with stars and seasons. The earth flourished with rivers and life. The temples of the gods rose upon the land, their names sung forever. The gods feasted and celebrated. The long war was ended, order triumphed over chaos, and a new age began. Marduk, seated upon his throne, gazed upon heaven and earth. He had slain Tiamat, forged the cosmos, and given birth to man. His reign was secure, his glory eternal. From the waters of chaos came the world, he declared. From the blood of rebellion came mankind, and from my hand all order flows. Let this be remembered forever. And so, the epic of creation was sealed. The story of gods and monsters, of blood and clay, of war and destiny. A story that would echo through the ages as men looked to the stars, the seas, and the earth, and remembered the goddess who was slain, and the god who rose from her ruin. Appendix. The meaning of the Tiamat and Marduk myth. 1. Tiamat, the symbol of chaos. Tiamat is not merely a giant sea dragon. She represents the primordial waters, the unshaped chaos. Before the universe existed, there was only boundless chaos. That was Tiamat. When she was slain by Marduk, the cosmos could finally take form. This reflects the Babylonian belief that order must always emerge from chaos, and the world itself is the result of a fierce struggle. 2. Marduk, the god of order. Marduk is more than a hero. He is the patron god of Babylon. His triumph over Tiamat symbolizes the rise of order and political power. For the Babylonians, this story declared, Babylon is the center of the world, and Marduk is the supreme god. The myth thus served not only as religion, but also as a political tool to legitimize Babylon's dominance. 3. Kingu and the birth of humanity. The blood of Kingu, Tiamat's chosen general, was used to create humankind. This carried a double meaning. Humans were servants of the gods, born to shoulder labor and duties in place of the divine. Yet within human blood lies a trace of rebellion and freedom, inherited from Kingu. This offers a mythological explanation for the dual nature of humanity, both obedient and defiant, for order and ritual. After their creation, humans were tasked with building temples, offering sacrifices, and honoring the gods. This mirrors Babylonian society. Humans must serve both kings and gods through labor and ritual. The myth reinforced the foundation of religion and society. Order is maintained through worship, law, and loyalty. 5. The eternal message. The Tiamat Marduk myth is not just an ancient story. It carries timeless truths. The world is born from chaos, gives life is always filled with conflict, but creation emerges from it. Order requires, sacrifice gives peace, and structure are always built on blood and loss. Humans are the bridge between gods and the cosmos, gives bearing, both obedience and the potential for rebellion.